Hola.
Hola.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hola.
May the
Welcome to Hollywood.
And May the 4th. We should have done
May
something
the
Star
4th
Wars
be
related.
with you. Yes.
Nobody has sent me that meme today. What is wrong with people?
It's on my Facebook.
I didn't even remember. I don't know what day it is anyway, every day.
It's on my Facebook. I put it up.
I haven't been on Facebook today.
Yep. You know my life. I get a million freaking things.
Yep. All right.
So welcome, everybody. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. The after party, right?
Yep.
Oh, the after party.
Yep. Welcome to Late Night Snax.
Oh, I need to pull up chat. See, I remembered.
Pull it up.
Oh, B's here. Hey, B.
What up?
Oh, he said he'll be back in 1 second.
I forgot my soda. Yeah, I hear you.
Me too. That's where I'm going. I got to pick up stuff on my way through because apparently stuff just randomly falls over in my house.
So how is everybody today?
Okay.
Feeling pretty good. Pretty good. I just got to roll in a major motion picture.
Did you?
Did you now?
Oh, I wish. No, I honestly, I'm not even going to lie. I wouldn't want to memorize all that shit.
What? We didn't have to.
I know.
As long as they give me cue cards.
Yeah, not in film. I mean,
yep.
Theater you do.
Woo. No.
They give you cue cards in theater?
Now he's back. Okay.
Welcome back, B. What kind of soda do you have?
Stay away from Diet Coke.
Yeah, stay away from diet. Oh, so what are you drinking? You're drinking Diet Coke.
What?
She's drinking Diet Coke.
I don't
know. What the fuck?
Getting gross.
What up, David?
How are you today, sweetheart?
Woohoo! All right. And we lost Mel again. This has happened twice today.
Has it?
Yes, so far. She pushed the button again.
Throw back Pepsi.
Quit pushing the button, woman.
All I have to do is accidentally, when I'm trying to move my screen, I pull it down and it reloads.
And now you're in the sensor box.
No, that's what we're calling it. I love it.
The sensor box. Yeah, that's the sensor box.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being
deliberately stand like that. Okay.
You know who I am because you can't see my eyes.
All right. So we all know where everybody's been waiting for the stream since Hollywood dropped. So,
yeah.
Well, I know all the admins have because there's been much chatter in the admin chat about when are you guys going to do it? So here we are.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
I mean, you got to give us time to watch it, guys. Relax.
I know. We had to binge it over the weekend, and I did it twice. Thank you very much.
Dawn knows this series very, very well.
Yes, I do. And
what?
It's not because...
You're better at this point.
Not just because one of my favorite actors is the lead, but yeah.
I was just going to say that. I'm like, yeah, it's just because her husband's in it.
No.
Who?
Oh, and for anyone who doesn't know, leave him alone. He's taken. Dawn's husband is Darren Criss.
Oh, that's what I said, Darren Criss.
No
He's gotten
moxie.
so good.
Oh.
He's really, his
That
acting's
man
really...
could do no wrong in my book.
Since Glee, his acting's improved immensely.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then after Versace, you were like, oh, my God. And I'm sorry, Cody Fern in Versace, too, was amazing, too.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was the same type of acting as he did in Apocalypse. And then in 1984, they were all different, and I like that.
They need to give Cody some decent roles in American.
They need to give him something more dramatic. He seems to do really well with dramatic.
Yeah. And these roles he'd been given in HS, it sucked for him.
Yeah, and it's not his fault. It's just
nope, it's not, because he can act. Because he did really,
he's
really well.
Really good.
Isn't he like theater classically trained? I believe.
I think he's professionally trained. Yeah.
Because I know he's from Australia.
Yeah, I believe he's professionally trained.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, we got a new person spelling. What's up? Hello. What up?
Hey.
Everybody. Hello,
So
hello.
glad you're
I love
here.
that name. That's a beautiful name. I love it.
Miss
Very creative.
Very
Spelling,
creative.
Jacoby. What up? Hello.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Welcome.
Here's your Oscar.
All right. Who wants to start this off?
I'm not starting. I'll put it down for
Go ahead,
you.
John.
You're like, no, I don't want to do
You
it.
watched it twice.
All right. Well, you guys are probably going to think that I'm biased.
Well, let's start like this then. Let's tell everybody. All right, obviously, the series is called Hollywood. It is a mini series that came out Friday, May 1st on Netflix. It is a Ryan Murphy production.
Yep.
Ryan Murphy wrote and directed some of the episodes. But he may have only done the first one. I know that for a fact, but I'm not sure. But I know he wrote every single episode, or with Ian.
With Ian, yeah.
With Ian.
Yeah, Ian.
And right. And let's see, there is 7 episodes.
Yes.
So, and the first 2 is a 1-parter and a 2-parter. So they go together. And then after that, those are our setup. The first 2 is our setup to our characters.
Yes.
And then after that, we get a lot more story, and we get more like second player characters introduced from the 3rd episode to the 7th. Well, to the 6th, because they didn't really introduce anybody new in the 7th.
No, the first 2 episodes are basically setting everything up.
Yes.
So that they can introduce you to the characters,
make you feel for them.
Yes.
Attach you to them, so you'll stay around.
And for
me, in my opinion, they did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, well,
with those first 2 episodes,
I got sucked in after the 4th episode. I was hooked.
Took out 4 episodes for me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I watched the first one and I was like, you know what? I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
I judge things right away. If I'm watching the first episode and I don't get distracted doing something else and just go off and do something, then it's caught me right away. And
that's how I am too. Yeah.
Rewatches for the first couple episodes.
You know if it catches your attention or not within that first episode, and if it didn't, it's probably never going to.
Right.
Yeah, and this one took me about 4 episodes to really.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm in now. I'm
watching.
It sucks because there's a lot of series or even movies like that where you have to get a quarter of the way, 2 quarters
through,
halfway through, and then you get into it, and it sucks because you have to make it there first, and a lot of people don't.
Yep.
Yeah, because I got sucked in because of the cast, because the cast was freaking amazing.
With that setup, with those first 2 episodes when they introduced them, right away I'm like, okay, I like this cast. I like how they're acting. It's believable because we have to believe they're in this time period. Oh, we didn't even set that up, the time period. You want to tell them, Dawn?
The time period is pre-World War II. Yeah.
It'd be 1940s because post Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind had already happened. So that was 38, 39, I believe. Gone with the Wind. So 40s.
And she was already a huge star from what they were saying. So we know it's a little bit after that. So it could be about
mid-40s. already won the Oscar.
I believe it's set early 40s.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe like 43, maybe 44, somewhere right around there.
They weren't really specific as the time period is like the early 40s.
It had been at least a couple years since Hattie had won the Oscar for Gone with the Wind.
Right.
Yeah.
That was I believe 39.
Because it was highly sought after and everything.
Yeah. So early mid 40s.
So this is 1940s Hollywood. And if you guys know anything about that time, you know the era, the clothing, the automobiles, the technology, you kind of get an idea. You've seen documentaries, movies, whatever. You get an idea of what the 40s was like. And I think they did a really good job portraying that. They really did. Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Holland Taylor was amazing. Patty was great too. But I really was drawn to Holland. I was like, oh my goodness, that woman, she's just amazing. She can do no wrong in my book.
I think she was perfect for this because
She was definitely.
both of them were just perfect.
Yeah. Because and it wasn't forced once you were introduced to their characters. It wasn't forced where you're like, okay, do I have to like them or do I want to root for them or this isn't believable? It was like right away, like I said, you were sucked into the character. They did such an amazing job of making you think that's who they really are. That's not Patty LuPone. That's Mrs. Ace, And
Yeah.
it's just like it was amazing. Amazing the way they did it.
It's one of my favorite Patty LuPone performances ever.
Yes.
Yes, I have to agree too.
She
And that's hard to
definitely
pick
shined in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this one was just for her. And
yeah, that's the way I felt about it. I thought this was her show. This was.
I don't know. I'm pretty partial to Patty LuPone and Coven myself.
Well, yeah, but we got more of her in this.
I love Black Job Neighbors. As they yell out my door, I'm making sure my neighbors aren't outside. They won't know what I'm talking about, and they'll just hear that. Oh Lord.
I mean, hopefully, Patty getting more and more, mainstream TV roles like this, people start to remember who she is and where she came from. And it's Patty LuPone has done some of the greatest.
Debbie says it's 1947.
Ever. Yeah, she initiated Norma Desmond, Sunset Boulevard. She initiated, Evita in Evita. She's done so many prominent female Broadway roles that she's a staple on Broadway.
1947.
And the sad thing is she only got to sing like in one scene, and it was like the humming scene at the table, and that was it.
Well, let's see. Oh, Buffy's here. Hey, Buffy, how you doing, girl? Sorry we didn't see you in there.
What up?
And then BRT said Holland could fit in AHS somewhere. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Ryan Murphy family.
Why couldn't she have played like a Bubbles McGee character?
She's part of the family. I mean, her and
that would have been awesome.
Her and Sarah have been together how long now?
Well, right, and I'm pretty sure Ryan knew Holland before he knew Sarah. I'm pretty sure. Because when Sarah started with AHS, she was dating someone else at the time. Her and Holland got together later.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Ryan might have introduced them. Who knows?
Who knows?
Works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, their relationship is great.
You wouldn't think it would work. And then when you first see them, I mean, they look good together, but you wouldn't think age-wise because of that it would work.
Yeah.
But they were the happiest couple, like just the most loving. They don't go out and do things. They just want to stay in and be with each other.
They both seem really genuine as real people. Even apart from each other. They seem incredible as people.
And the other actor I have to give major snaps to has to be Jim Parsons.
Oh my God.
Jim Parsons.
Can I just say, yes, I hated him in this, but not him. I hated his character, and you were supposed to
hate it.
You were supposed to, right. But my God, Jim Parsons, just his acting in this role, and especially because, like we were talking about before, he's very much typecast, unfortunately, now.
This was definitely not Sheldon Cooper in any way, shape, or form.
I didn't see it. I didn't even look at him. When I first saw him, I didn't even think, oh, great, here's Sheldon. Like, I didn't look at it like that. I didn't see that in him, nothing. And this, I don't know, you guys, is this something we have to give a testament to Ryan Murphy for, maybe? Because there's something with these.
Some of these actors are incredibly talented actors, and they
really are. And I know that's why he chooses them. But it's the fact that, like, even with AHS, we watch them season to season. It's a very different season. It's not connected, in a way. But they play different characters. And even when they're playing dual characters, you're not looking at them and going, oh, that's Cordelia. Oh, that's Billy Dean. Like, you're just thinking, oh, this is this character it is right now. You don't even see the other ones. And that, to me, is amazing acting. That is amazing because if you can make people forget who you are and think you're completely somebody else without even all the makeup on, or I mean, they have makeup on, but where you still look like you, that's amazing.
Well, it's like, but you get stuck in a TV show that runs. I mean, how many seasons did Big Bang run? It was like 12,
12.
13 seasons. Yeah, and
12.
it's like that's this over a decade of this guy's life locked into that.
Oh.
You know, same thing happened with Friends. You know, look at the cast of Friends. It's whenever they're on TV, that's all you think about is their characters' friends. So it takes incredible actor to break out of that. And
Yeah.
He hasn't completely broken out of it because he's still doing the voiceovers for young Sheldon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you guys, Debbie makes a good point. Rock Hudson died of AIDS in 1985. She said, what year are we in Pose? Just a crossover thought.
Maybe.
I
hope they don't use this rendition of Rock Hudson. I'll be disgusted if they do that in Pose. Because this rendition of Rock Hudson was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Buffy said she didn't like Parsons or Chris's characters.
Who?
Buffy.
Darren. Oh, you didn't like them? I did.
She didn't like Jim Parsons and Darren Chris's characters.
You weren't supposed to.
Darren Criss, though. I like
Darren Criss. I thought he did great.
Yeah, his character was fine.
I will say, compared to other Darren Criss roles, he was very nice and sweet, especially when you saw him with Camille. But he was a little bit harder, sterner, than he is in a lot of other roles. And I think maybe that was a turn off to people. Maybe. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the character because it was like he stood his ground for what he wanted, to get what he wanted for himself and the people he was trying to help.
Of the 5, if you look at it, because we get the 5 main characters, the 3 guys and the 2 girls. So of the 5, Darren Criss was like the Rock of that. He was the main character.
Well, he was like I don't know. I'm not going to use that analogy because there already is one. But he was like the ringleader, and those were his little minions. Everybody, and it was cool. I liked how they started with one story, then went to another, but then showed us how they were all intertwined.
Right.
That little 6 degrees of separation thing too. That was really cool.
If you watch the opening credits, see, one thing I love about Ryan Murphy, we love about Netflix really is their opening credits really they put a lot of work into those opening credits.
They do.
They really put a lot of thought, and this one had a lot of thought put into it. Because if you watch the climb of which character is doing what climb and who they're interacting with, and how they reach the top and who they reach the top before and with, it really tells the motivations of each of the characters.
Yeah, it basically tells the story that you're about to watch without you even knowing. You just already saw the story.
Yeah, and if you watch it, Darren Criss is ringleading that up the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
It's a great opening credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't skip it, because I know on Netflix you can skip intros.
Oh, don't.
I mean, watch it at least the first time. You can skip it after that.
Well, it only it shows up in the second episode. It doesn't show up
in not the first one, because it's a pilot. You never get opening credits in any pilot.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually, sometimes you do. But it's very rare.
Occasionally, but rarely, yeah.
It goes right into a cold open. Did we even get the opening? Well, we got the opening credits for Murder House in Asylum, American Horror Stories, didn't we? We had a cold open, but it went.
Yeah, we did.
You would have gotten it for Asylum because Asylum was the second season. But anytime it's the first show for a show, it generally, that's your pilot. You generally don't have opening credits. Sometimes you do, but you generally don't.
We didn't. This episode season we didn't. Of Hollywood. Because it took me. It was like the second episode before I saw the credits. Third episode before I saw the credits. What did it say? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
There was no actor on this set that talent-wise was dragging anybody down.
No,
not
at all.
The casting of this show was incredible. Now the choices some of the show make, I got a different beef about, but the talent was amazing.
I mean, to see Dylan McDermott in this role was
great role for him. Fantastic role for him, especially his arc. His arc was one of the most interesting and one of the most thought out arcs of everybody in the whole show. Where the show started with him and where it ended with him was a real.
Okay. Fallon Light points out something which is a good point. If it's like the ringleader and they were all in their little areas and they came into a big group. It's kind of like The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so, yeah.
So
Very much was.
Okay, so how are we gonna break this down? What do you think? You just gave the premise, and we went off on a side tangent as always. Okay, well, why don't we do this?
maybe not. Oh.
We're not doing a synopsis here.
No.
We may cover the whole show and do a synopsis at one point, but right now we're not.
Right
we're just
now
doing
we're
what we thought, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Just a review, people.
What we thought, yeah.
Our
So
review.
we're not giving any story beats per se, so we're
Right.
not going to talk story beats.
I mean, we could do it by breaking down the characters.
Yeah. Well, just give us go one at a time. Just what you liked and what you didn't like.
There was a few things there were certain characters that I can say that I didn't like. I was not a big fan of Claire's character. I found her extremely annoying.
And then after that, not only annoying but bland. Very bland. She was a great actress.
I know.
She really was, but it was just the character seemed like they didn't put enough into it. It was kind of bland.
Yeah. It's kind of like,
I mean, I do like a lot of the arcs that she has. I thought that was great. Like you know, her and her mother coming together finally and everything. You know, the moment she tells her she's proud of her and everything, and you know, stuff like that. Like I really liked those scenes. It felt like she needed a little more.
Yeah, because there were only a few characters that I was not fond of. I have to admit that the one that the girl that played Jack's wife, I could have just gone the entire series without dealing with her at all. Because it's like they just like, I felt like they were trying to basically throw stuff against the wall and see what would stick. So
they were trying to give Jack a particular story arc, and it was interesting enough that it went on too long. And when it finally resolved itself, it was like his you
didn't care anymore.
To get into Claire was so rushed because they took all season to.
Yeah, they took so long with the other one. It was just like, no.
And they could have sped that up. They really could have.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have done that in episode 3 or 4. They could have had her out of the picture.
Let's see. Debbie said, "I love how cornball, hick, and kid like Rock was, and I'm over the moon that he's living his truth finally." I did like that. I did like that they did it that way. I know you don't.
We know you don't.
But you got to look at it from the perspective of somebody going in who knows nothing about these people, the real life people.
Exactly. That's the point. It's like because that's the impression.
That's what I'm saying. It's fiction.
That's the impression they get of these people.
Well,
I mean, Rock Hudson was not a bumbling buffoon
not
idiot.
Necessarily, because it makes them then maybe want to look into them more, and then they find out what the real truth is.
I mean, they even put it on the poster. We'll
get on my rant in a minute.
Rewrite history. They even put it on the poster.
Well, you guys finish up. We'll get on my rant.
Just saying, we know you don't.
Okay, so we tell Jack's story, and then we get into whose story came next. Was it? It wasn't it. Then we set up Archie's story.
Then we set up Archie's story.
It was Jack, then Archie, and then
it was.
And then Darren Chris came in, right?
Oh wait, I thought we were doing what you like, what you didn't like.
We can do that too.
Yeah. Let's stick with that.
Let's stick with that.
There's more of a review. Yes, so Dawn, you were starting with what you liked.
No, actually, I started with what I don't like.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll start with what you do like.
But that's really the only part of it that I didn't actually like were just those two characters because they were so bland. It was like you guys could have done a little bit more with them. It's kind of like you just threw them in there as filler for something else.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You know who I was not happy with? Not the portrayal, but the screen time and the buildup of the character. Then I know in a way they're like, oh, maybe you're supposed to know who these people are. But like I said, you need to go in thinking that this is a younger generation who does Netflix. They don't know who these people are. And you know what? So what bothered me was Queen Latifah.
Yep.
I wish because she played an amazing woman who made such an impact on history that I wish they would have talked a little bit more about. Because it's like we were introduced to her because she's having a threesome and picks up the paper and sees Camille got the role, and then calls Camille. And it's like, well, who are you? We heard your name, but we don't know anything about you. Who are you?
Yeah,
what did you do?
Even
when she starts talking to Camille and giving her advice and stuff, which was great, and she gave her great advice, but they still in that moment could have explained more of who she was, and all they talked about was they mentioned the win, the award win. They mentioned not being able to go into the awards until right when you won and you're rushed in, and all of that. So they got that history in, which is very accurate,
right?
But they did not tell her story.
I know.
Yeah, they made her a character. They made her a foul-mouthed lesbian.
And it's one of those things where people will never look into her to know who she was, because there was no screen time. There was no chance to connect with her character to want to know who she was.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
So I didn't like that. I definitely didn't like that. Let's see. Let's look at the comments real quick.
Wait, Don, keep going because we keep getting off track.
Although my favorite character had to be Avis. Avis was my favorite.
Mine too. Hands down.
Even from the beginning all the way through, she was just
hard. If I have to pick my favorite character. Oh man. Okay. All right. I got two for you, but two different categories.
Yeah, because we're gonna go to you here in a minute, and then you can do your thing. Because I just basically
I'm thinking I got two, but two different categories. That's why.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to tell you now?
Go.
Oh, I thought you were still talking. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I can always go back and forth. Not a big deal.
So, Holland Taylor was my favorite when it came to like believing in a character, like really putting everything into and investing in a character. It was with her. But then when it came to somebody that I could not get enough scenes with because I just wanted to keep looking at, that was Archie.
Yeah, I see that.
He took his shirt off so many times. I'm like, keep it up, baby. Keep it up.
Yep.
I know he took his shirt off more than Darren Criss did. Darren Criss did twice.
He did. Darren Criss got in the bathtub and didn't even take his clothes off.
Yeah, right in there.
And notice I did not say that Darren Criss was my favorite, even though he is, personally.
Because you're looking at it from the overall acting standpoint and character buildup.
As far as
which is okay, he will forgive you, Dawn. I promise.
I know. But as far as characters go, Avis was my all-time fave.
She was a really good character. Character. My God, that is
also the actor that played Dick.
Yes, he was great. Yes, I really liked his character a lot, and I didn't like him. I didn't like him when they first introduced him, because when they introduced him with Darren is when he's getting the scripts and he's telling him, "I'm not going to make your movie. I'm not going to make your movie about an Asian woman."
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, I don't think I like you.
Yeah. But in the end, you ended up really liking his character.
Yeah. And then you feel bad. You feel bad and you're sad at the end. Mm-hmm. For him, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You're sad actually like halfway through to the end for him.
Yeah, his story's tragic. It is.
It really was.
It's like that story was very well thought out.
Yeah, there was a lot of time and energy and effort definitely put into his character. You're right. Because we got so much more information even without him having to go into like a long paragraph or speech about a specific thing. All he had to do was say like one or two lines and you were like, oh my God, I know this guy's whole history.
Yeah.
It was great.
And then when you parallel that with Ace's deal, I mean, he just comes across as a lecherous pig. So,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
you know,
And he had a change too. He had an art and a good change.
yeah, he had a good change, and I was happy about that. That actually made me sad.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's kind of, and it sucks because it was like the last episode is when you suddenly like him.
I know, and
I'm like, okay, so now I've spent 6 episodes not liking this scumbag, and everybody else tells him he's a scumbag all the time to his face, and he's just proud of it and smiles. And now you want me to like him, and I kind of understand why, but it was really hard to still like him.
I know.
Because I didn't like him for so long, and then they didn't give me enough time afterwards to build up to liking him. It was just like, bam, you're supposed to like me now. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Their romance was really cute.
I thought it was forced, but it was really cute.
I thought it was cute. Yeah.
I like the story that, you know, because you always hear like the pretty woman story type of thing in a movie. Well, this was kind of that, but the opposite, you know. Yeah. And I really liked that. Like, he was, you know, this pimp for so long and, you know, did these things. And he even said at one point he didn't want to do it. He didn't like doing it. He said that to the guys. And when he was telling them, when he was going to give them the 25,000, he's like, I don't want you doing what I do. And, you know, it's like you could tell in his eyes he was sad. He didn't want to live this life. He was lonely. Yeah.
I love this character.
I really did. And you know what? Normally, I don't like Dylan's characters.
Yeah.
I liked
his character. I did. I thought he was a little rough around the edges, so it took me a minute to like him.
Yeah.
But then I did really like him, especially by the end.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I
feel like he was more redeemable than Jim Parsons' character was.
Now, are you ready, Michael? Because I know you are.
I'm ready.
Right, wait.
Hold
check some comments real quick so we don't miss too many of them, because there's a lot going on down there.
Oh, we got another new one here.
Yeah.
Afro Whale.
Afro Whale.
Nice.
What up?
What up, guys?
Afro Whale, thank you for the thumbs up, man. Hashtag notification squad.
All right.
Thumbs up.
Woohoo.
More people in the house.
New people in the house.
Let's see. Debbie said Hattie McDaniel. Oh my God, fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, well, that was a lost opportunity. They could have done so much more with that.
They could have, but they did more with her than they did with a lot of other people.
That's true, but
I'll talk about it in a minute. I'll talk about it all. Trust and believe.
And let's see what else. Oh, I love the titles too. That moment of peace when they reached the top. B said, yeah. Buffy said that's a Ryan Murphy trait to run out of time and condense the character development. Yeah.
Very true.
Ryan collects the offspring of famous people, Debbie said. Yeah. He does. Yeah, I think that's it. We're caught up.
All right, we're good.
Wait, Buffy said to tell you she loves your rant. Now go ahead.
Buffy's yourself a drink.
Because here we go.
What I liked. I liked this show. I really did. The story was one of the best.
Told you, Don.
The story was one of the best stories that Ryan Murphy has developed as far as a beginning, middle, and end. It was cohesive. It was thought through. The whole thing.
Now, do you think that's because it was such a short window because it was only 7?
Yeah, it was a nice package. There was a reason for each development as it went through it. It didn't seem like they were just throwing ideas in the air to see what would happen. So I thought the writing was really good. I thought
it wasn't like the whole Kyle story in Coven.
That was always.
The whole story was developed. The cast was amazing. It was one of the best cast shows that I've ever seen. There's, like I said, there was no standout of a cast member that was just like they're kind of
well, and you know, if this ends up going to an awards show type of thing, kind of like how it did in the show itself, it's going to be so difficult because you want to root for everybody, but at the same time you're going to want your favorite because they're going to be up against each other in some parts.
Yeah.
You know,
not a bad actor in the bunch for this one.
No. My favorite characters are like Don says, Avis. I thought that matriarch of that carrying that show that way was fantastic. Love Dylan's character. I like the five. I like the combination of the five. I liked how they inner thread each one of their stories into it.
Yeah.
However, that said,
Here we go.
Here
we go.
first off, the what the fuck moment at the end of 6 to be immediately thrown away at the beginning of 7. This is a binge show. This isn't a week to week. This is everybody's going to sit down and binge this show. And to take such a dramatic moment at the end of episode 6 and then literally just throw it away
We'll tell them what the dramatic moment was so they know.
When they destroyed the film.
When they destroyed the film
in the fire and destroyed the film, it was like, oh man, now we're getting that was, to me, that was the best creative decision that they made with the show, because they were showing, you know what, this film's not going to get made. These people worked, all this hard, and how are they going to recover from that? That was what I was thinking.
And that's very real to history right there.
That was good. That was good writing. That was good.
Yeah, that was.
And then we go
right into serious mouth drop. I was like, oh my god.
The first conversation of episode 7 was, oh, I have an extra copy, so we're okay.
Yeah, the editor showed up and he's like, I made a copy when he started messing with the film. And what did he say? He said he did the same with the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, this is what I hate. This is one of my biggest pet peeves with entertainment is dumbing down entertainment for Americans. I'm sorry, they dumb down a lot of entertainment. They treat us like that we're stupid. That we are not able to follow really intricate, intelligent thoughts, really good creative decisions. So we're just going to spoon feed you. And it's like I hate when decisions like that are made, because it's like, if you're going to go with a big, huge.
Well, you know why? They're catering to the majority, not the minority.
Yeah, it's just, God, that pisses me off. And at that moment, episode 7 to me was just trash. I mean, they should have just.
There was just no point of even having it that moment.
There were too many false ends to that. They should have just had the award show the minute that she won the Oscar for Best Actress, and she went and gave her acceptance.
It should have faded to black while everybody's clapping and everything. Yeah. She's on stage, like you see little lights all behind her. That would have been perfect.
The whole Jim Parsons sub storyline at the end was garbage. It was that was
really did.
They just wanted to redeem his character.
Well, it wasn't even redeem his character. It was like, okay, we did all this for African American people of color in movies, and the big thing, we got to say something about the gays, and
that was kind of forced. It was very forced.
It was absolute pandering there at the end, and I was just like, I lost a lot of respect for the show that I had with that last episode, because there's so many pet peeves of mine were all just handed to me in that last episode. I was so mad about it. That's why I tweeted you guys. I was like, oh, just wait, because I'm pissed.
Yeah, Michael even sent us a picture of himself while he was watching it. We're like, uh-oh.
This is not going to be good.
Why do you have something that's so creative and so intelligent and so well thought through all the way to the end, and then you're going to throw it away like that? You're just, it really upset me, because I was really enjoying it. There were problems throughout, and the biggest problem was, and nobody can still tell me this. Why is it necessary? What is the thought process behind rewriting history, mixing it with fictional myth when you're already telling a fictional story, and you could just create fictional characters that are similar to other people's experiences? Rock Hudson was not a bumbling buffoon. And
no.
What Rock Hudson did for the AIDS crisis was everything, because Ronald Reagan and the administration had not mentioned the AIDS crisis.
But that was also in the 80s. That wasn't in the 40s.
Still, but until Rock Hudson did. So the respect for Rock Hudson in the community and for the AIDS crisis is he's important. He's an important person. And to dumb him down the way that they dumbed him down, it's one thing to use Rock Hudson and to use Rock Hudson in the 40s.
Yeah, I would have to say, if I had to pick one thing that I hated about the whole thing, it was that.
Yeah.
Rock Hudson was never like that. I can understand giving Rock Hudson his fairy tale love story that he never had. He was
exactly
because his entire life. That's kind of a fantasy that maybe he's given to him out of respect. But to dumb him down like a little buffoon running around was so insulting to Rock Hudson.
Well, and you know what, though? I think it started out as it was supposed to just make him look innocent, because when we introduced to him is when he pulls up to the gas station and meets Archie.
It meets Archie.
And he hasn't even gotten his name changed yet, nothing. And there's like this innocence about him, because he's like, well, what do we do, and what do I need to do, and do I pay you, do I not pay you? Like, he didn't know. And I get that, and I liked that, because it didn't make him seem like he was a professional at this.
That was
He
not.
shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have been at that moment. But
It could
yeah,
have been
it was like
Rick
he
Harris.
wasn't a dumb hick, and it kind of seemed like that.
It's like, why didn't they
No,
create
and not
a
even a hick, because he was from Winnetka.
Yeah, why didn't they just create a character? Rick Harris. It's been the exact same character as Rock, because Rock Hudson's history didn't matter at this point. Hattie McDowell's history didn't matter at this point. So why are you using and confusing these real people thrown in the midst of a completely fictional environment? Ace Studios is a completely fictional environment. Avis is a completely fictional story. All of these the movies and the screenplays and all that's completely fictional. So what is the necessary need to put in? First off, you have Rock Hudson, who is very important in history to what he did for gays prices, what he did for gays, and etc. Then you have Hattie McDowell, who was fucking huge in changing the way people looked at African Americans in film. See, her story was accurate, but to make her this foul mouthed, almost tobacco spitting lesbian in the thing is. I'm surprised Queen Latifah agreed to do it, because it was an insult to Hattie McDowell's memory. So both of these two important people, Ryan Murphy inadvertently insulted both of their memories, and there's no reason for it. That's what I keep saying is why do they keep doing this without a reason? That just God, it drives me nuts. Debbie saying that emotionally no much. But this is the new generation. Who has emotional ties to Hattie McDowell? Who has emotional ties to Rock Hudson? If he didn't say the name Rock Hudson in the story, you wouldn't have known that was Rock Hudson.
True.
Yeah.
No ties to Rock Hudson whatsoever if he didn't say his name was Rock Hudson. That's the only reason you got. If we didn't know Queen Latifah was playing Hattie McDowell and didn't give that I'm Hattie McDowell and I did this when I won my Oscar, you would not have known that was Hattie McDowell. Why? Because they're using these real people and completely characterizing them as something that they weren't. Completely. The only person that they used that was even remotely to their true life was Vivian Leigh. And the way they used Vivian Leigh was almost acceptable, because they used her as an outsider looking into this fictional land, not intermixed into this fictional land. They use it in this fictional piece. Wong, her story is real.
Yeah.
I bet you 90% of people didn't even know that, because people don't know Wong. They didn't have the emotional.
And that's where the show kind of starts, is with an already named actor that we know of, somebody who's in the business, is with her. When he goes to meet her about his project, and you hear her story, and you're like, oh my God. Like right then you feel for this woman.
Yeah,
It's the emotion. I really appreciate Debbie's thought there, because if we did have really good ties with somebody, like say it was a Princess Diana, or somebody that is part of our generation, part of our culture, that we did have ties with Michael Jackson when he died, whatever, you could do that kind of stuff. But this is 1940s, of this generation, people don't have ties, and if they were trying to create ties for an emotional impact, they sure went about it the wrong way, because they characterized these people, and they weren't even these people who they were in history. Even if you're going to rewrite their story, you're still rewriting everything about their personality, everything of who they were, and there's no reason for it. This story was so well written and so well developed. Did we need a Rock Hudson in there? No. Did we need a Hattie McDowell in there? No. We could have had Rick Harris, and the same character would have presented the same story, and it would have been great. We could have had Harlot McDougal, and that, as an old matriarch lady in film, and that story would have carried the same way. It had nothing to do with Hattie McDowell, had nothing to do with Rock Hudson, but they wanted to throw those names out there, and yet not give us the person, not give us something. Amy Wong, her character and her story was so well written, but they're rewriting history for no reason. It could have been a different Asian American actress, and the same story would have been told, because they're writing it so well done. And that's why nobody's ever said why. Why did necessary in it. If you're telling a biopic, tell a biopic. If you're telling a fictional story, tell a fictional story. Because now we're confused.
Don't intertwine the two.
We're confusing the history of film and the history of movie studios and history of these actors. And did that affect the show for me? No, because all the characters were fine, but they don't have to be these real people. You don't have to intermingle these real people into a situation where it's not necessary. That's all I'm saying. It takes me out of it because I get so frustrated with it because it's so unnecessary. I don't know their thought process behind that.
Right.
I really don't. That's my rant over. I hated the ending and I hated the rewriting history, but I love the writing on the show. It's one of his best written shows.
Well, I also found an article about what's real and what's not real in Ryan Murphy's Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did. I've not had a chance to read it yet. Are you going to read it
There's
now?
nothing historic.
I just put it in the chat too, just so you guys know.
Yeah, there's nothing accurately historic besides the fact of
No.
Anime Wong getting refused a role,
Yeah.
and Hattie winning that Oscar. That's pretty much all that was there that's historic.
Okay, so it says Scotty Bowers, which would have been Dylan McDermott's character, and it says sort of. So it's loosely based on him. And then,
see, why they did it for that man's real life? Why couldn't they have done that for Rock Hudson? Loosely based on Rock Hudson.
And then loosely based.
Loosely based.
Porter, Darren Richardson. Oh, let's see. Ace Studios. If you put them back to back, it's supposed to represent Paramount Pictures. If you put them side by side.
Do what? I heard Ace Studios was a combination of Universal and Paramount.
Oh, I didn't put it in that chat, B. That's why. Sorry.
I'll put it in the other
Can
chat.
you put it in there, Dawn?
Yeah.
With a little bit of MGM wrapped into it.
Okay, here we go. Rock Hudson. All right, so let's see. It's not long. It's just a little short thing. It says, although the real Rock Hudson moved to Hollywood in 1946, he wouldn't become a star until 1954's Magnificent Obsession, which gives Hollywood significant room to imagine how his life and career might have gone differently if he'd been more open about his sexuality. When we meet him on the show, he's still Roy Fitzgerald. His name was an invention of talent agent Henry Wilson, which most people know that. Hollywood's Hudson is very much like the real man in the late 1940s. Clumsy, nervous, and terrible actor.
He's not a buffoon. He wasn't a buffoon.
Hudson signed with Wilson in 1947, around the time Scotty Bowers met him for the first time at the Richfield oil station. Although the screen test Hudson botches in Hollywood is invented, his auditions were indeed atrocious, and after landing his first role in, Fighter Squadron at Warner Brothers, he took 38 takes to successfully deliver a single line. The line was, "Or we're gonna need a bigger blackboard." And it took him 38 times to say that.
I heard he was possibly dyslexic.
And then it says Hollywood Hudson diverges very quickly from the real man who, far from coming out in 1948, remained publicly closeted until 1985, when he could no longer hide the fact that he had contracted AIDS.
Yeah.
And that fact changed the entire way that the government was looking at the AIDS epidemic, because he was friends with the Reagans.
And if nobody knows what Henry Wilson really looked like, the character Jim Parsons played, look it up, because my God, that has to be part of why they cast Jim Parsons. He is almost spitting image of Henry Wilson.
Yep.
Anime Wong, like you said, her story. Hers is a little longer, which it makes sense why it would be.
Yeah.
Well, the whole story of Meg or Peg.
They even have a clip of the Good Earth, of the trailer for the Good Earth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Hattie McDaniel.
I mean, there was a lot that I
No.
liked about it, but there was also a lot that I didn't like about it. Because,
What else did you like, Don?
well, no, I agree with you in the fact that they shouldn't have taken the liberties with Rock Hudson's story. If they were going to do that, they just needed to make another character. It would have gone over better because it's almost,
If you're gonna loosely base certain characters on certain, you could loosely base Rock Hudson's story.
yeah.
To give Rock
they
Hudson his,
could have.
yeah. If you want to do a biopic about Rock Hudson, do a biopic about Rock Hudson.
I think that's where Ryan needs to work on it. Is like you need to make a decision. Are you going to do a biopic on this stuff, or are you going to loosely base it on?
Yeah, mixing this stuff is where I have a problem. Really
Well,
throwing people
and
into a
as
fantasy.
for Hattie McDaniel,
Yeah.
they said in reality, producer David O. Selznick had previously arranged for McDaniel to be admitted to the ceremony, but she, her date, and her agent were required to sit at a separate table in the back of the room. The indigents continued after the Oscars. Oh, I'm sorry, indignities.
Yeah.
I thought it said indigent.
Yeah,
all right. Continued after the Oscars. McDaniel's Gone with the Wind co-stars went to celebrate their awards at a white-only nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's very much how it was.
Her entire Academy Award stuff is very historic.
For a long time, even after that, it was still like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if Hattie was really a brass, foul-mouthed, motherfucking talking,
yeah, I like that though.
That is fine if that's who she was, but we have no basis. They had no development. We had no background on Hattie being that person. So to create such a massive character around that, I think disrespects her importance in Hollywood, because they used her because of her importance in Hollywood as an African American woman and what was done to her during that Academy Awards. Fine, you could have that story. You could even talk about Hattie if you're going to mix it, but the character, to create a character, a cartoon character out of that, I personally think it's disrespectful. I don't know if Ryan's intention to be disrespectful, but it's just the choices are just so unthought through.
And this is funny. It says by the end of Hollywood, the show has taken a delirious turn into alternative history.
Yeah, it's like and it didn't need to be this delirious alternative history thing. It could have just been a great story about 1940s Hollywood, making this movie, and it could have been great. The studio wasn't even real. They weren't even using a real studio. They weren't even using a real studio circumstances. And it's like, there's a lot of movies, a lot of books, a lot of TV shows that use time periods to create their own fictional stories. That's exactly what this should have been, because then it would have been great, because they had a great story. They had a fantastic story. Told to See 1922, really heart-wrenching. It's great. I'll have to watch that. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
The Toll of the Sea. Huh. I will watch that. And the first color movie.
That means a plethora of information.
I thought Wizard of Oz was the first color. No, it wouldn't have been, because Wizard of Oz was the same year as Gone with the Wind. They were filming at the same time, so they're using Technicolor by then. 1922 was the first color film. Wow.
And that year at the annual, or the 20th annual awards, for Best Picture, it actually went to Gentleman's Agreement, and so did a lot of the other awards that year. To the actors and actresses were from that movie, Gentleman's Agreement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 1922. I found that I want to go back on this 1922 thing. But that anime was in the first color movie. So Told to See 1922. Debbie's got me on a whole different thought process. This is fascinating to me, because you figure the entire 30s and the entire 40s went through with black and white film. This was 2 decades earlier, in the early 20s. They tried with the first color film. It wasn't until the late 30s, with Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz, all of that stuff, that they were doing major blockbuster films in full Technicolor. But then they still didn't use it for all of their films until
Well,
the
because it
late
was
40s.
time consuming.
But yeah, they had to go through. But I found that fascinating. There's 1922, almost 2-3 decades before they actually were just
Yeah.
using that on a regular basis. It's fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
When was the first? What was the first talking film? Come on, Debbie. Think the first talking film when?
Deb, when was the first talking film?
20s would have been silent film, like she said. 1922 would have been silent film. It wasn't until the 30s where you start seeing talking film pretty regularly from studios in the late 30s, because you figure no, early 30s, I believe. Yeah, I love the portrayals. I love the characters. It just wasn't
Yeah.
Hattie. It didn't need to be Hattie. Her character was fine. The story that she brought to the table was fine.
BRT said, my first 2 YouTube videos took me 65 plus takes to finally play them right, start to finish. Yes, he said, yes, there was blood. Oh, feeling.
Go back to what Debbie was saying, because I want to know. I want to ask Debbie more about this. So,
Which one?
based off Hattie,
This one? Okay.
based off of her knowledge, off of Hattie, who she was in her personal life. This is what I want to know: is do we know historically that this is who she was? Was she really a foul mouth, stand your ground, woman's activist, lesbian type, not in a negative way, but in, real strong like that? Was that who Hattie was?
I believe she was.
I would like to know. I'm not
Well,
saying.
no,
I'm
yeah,
not questioning it.
I honestly don't know.
Think about it. We know she really did win an award. She really was there. She really was in that time period with these people, with the racism, with the sexism, with everything. She had to be a strong woman, just like we see with Camille. I mean, I'm pretty sure Hattie, just like the advice that, Queen Latifah gives Camille's character, or Camille, the character, I'm pretty sure Hattie was like that, where, she was like, no. And like when Camille gets to the awards and she's remembering what Hattie told her about her, and she says, no, I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to move or else. And, and I think that was, I think Hattie was very much like that.
26. 1926 was the first talking. Let's see. See, I always base my knowledge off of Universal monster films, because that's where you see the generational change with those films, Universal Studios, because you see a lot of the silent films, Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Phantom of the Opera, the silent ones turn into the talkies, Dracula and Frankenstein and stuff. And so that would have been early 30s. Yeah, so 26. So that's not as tragic, or not as far apart as the color process. And it was a double color process, nothing like, yeah, of course, nothing like Technicolor. It's fascinating. Wait. So Irene Dunne was the first Technicolor film around the mid 30s, or huh? I love this shit. I love film history like that. It's so fascinating. Because you never think about the technical side of all this, and where how it's changed dramatically. Right. Like, look at what's going on with COVID. It's going to dramatically change the film industry. It's going to be another change in our history in movies, and how movies are distributed and looked at, and all that. Just like talkies did. Just like, I think talking and color were the 2 significant changes to theater and home entertainment. Because remember, we lived in a generation where you didn't get any home entertainment before the 80s. It was like, the big films, they played once a year on TV. That's how you got to see them again. Like Star Wars, or Sound of Music, or Gone with the Wind. They play like once a year on TV.
Once a year, usually like Easter or Christmas and stuff like that. Yeah. That's the only time you got to see them again.
It wasn't until mid 80s, I guess, that
I remember when broadcasts used to end. I remember when all broadcasts used to end at midnight.
Oh yeah, and you had that signal. Yeah, now
and now just had white noise. I called them white
noise. Yeah,
I said ant races is what I called them as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You could watch movies starting at like 8 o'clock at night, and then basically everything
And
shut down at midnight.
they'd always play the American anthem.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the end, and then it would go into a weird kind of tone.
Or even the news at 10 o'clock always says it's 10 o'clock. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Well, that's why you see the static and stuff in Poltergeist, because it's like that when the stations would go off air, it was like sometimes static.
Yeah.
And you would get used to that sound in your house. It's weird. That's weird thinking about all that. Anyway, so we are about an hour at this point.
Yes, we are.
I think we pretty much covered it. I mean,
you wanted to do a rating system?
Yeah. How about that? Why don't we all give it how many stars we would rate it from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. And we want you guys in the comments to give us your rating from 1 to 10. How many stars would you give Hollywood?
As an overview, as an overall, right?
Yeah, overall.
Okay.
So Michael, do you want to go last or you want to go first?
Oh, I can go first. I actually give it I'll give it an 8, a strong 8. I loved the story. I really did.
Overall,
with all the things that irritated me about it, I thought it was really, really well crafted.
Dawn, how about you?
I give it a strong 8, mainly because of the story and the actors, the cast involved in it, because there was no bad actors in this series at all. They all were incredible.
And you know what's funny is even when he was playing a bad actor, he was actually being a good actor.
I know, it was great.
Oh, the talent was amazing.
Yeah, the talent was great.
The cast, all their chemistry together was really good. Especially the five that they picked as that core 5 really functioned like a team.
They did. They had great chemistry. You could tell.
That's where you definitely
did all when they would interact.
When it comes to casting, Ryan knows what he's doing when it comes to casting.
Yeah. At this point, I would hope so.
Yeah. All right. What do you give it, Mel?
So, on a 1 to 10, stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame that I would give Hollywood, I would give it 9.5 stars. I was really, really impressed with it. But I also went in looking at the fact, like I told myself, I'm not going to know the history. So I'm just going to pretend like this isn't real history. This is just a story they're telling.
Right.
Now, had I gone in like Mike did, I might have felt a little differently because I went in that way. Whereas I went in the other way on purpose because I knew they were going to be changing things. Like you said, on the billboard, it says, what would you do if you could rewrite history? You know, what if you could rewrite history?
That's how I went into
it. They tell you, right. They told us in previews before we saw this that they were going to talk about history, but they were rewriting it. So I was like, okay, I'm fine with that because you told me up front. So I would have to give it just from a story, let's say that wasn't meant to be historically accurate.
Right.
I would give it a 9.5 because, and a big part, like you guys both said, is because of the acting, that the cast, for sure.
Because the cast was incredible. Let's see, Buffy.
Although the sets were amazing as well. The sets were amazing.
Yeah.
And
so
all of
the
wardrobe and everything, they did a great job.
Yeah. So Buffy gives it a 7.5.
7.5. All right, Bob.
Coming up above that from Debbie about Hattie, because I asked her about it. So everything is true about her parents. She's young. Yeah, I knew her story was historic. I just want to know who she was. Things about her. All right.
I knew Hattie McDaniel was a singer. I did know that.
Yeah.
Makes me want to know more about her.
Yep. So we know.
But had you spent a little more time on that in the show, you would have felt that way without Debbie having to fill you in, and now you want to know. You know what I mean? Not that I'm not saying that's how you feel, but just as a viewer, you know.
Yeah,
BRT said 42,000 Hollywood stars. Yay!
Buffy makes it.
What else we got?
Yeah, Alfie's
is an 8.5.
Why you guys keep saying Alfie? It's Afro.
Oh, I don't know. God, I keep saying I don't. My eyes are bad.
Afro whale.
Afro whale. Okay.
8.5 stars. All right.
It was announced today. Also, we do have news. Buffy just mentioned the news. It was announced today. Ryan Murphy confirmed that productions not going back into American Horror Story until 2021,
Yep.
which goes in line with all of the Hollywood.
Which we
and all
already
of
knew.
the unions.
We already knew.
Yeah, this is a union
There's
thing.
nothing happening until at least January of next year for TV or film. There's nothing.
That's what the unions wanted.
Well, my thing is this,
and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They want to make sure everybody is safe because so many people are in such close contact with each other when you make a film or a TV series.
Well, it's the liability.
And being that that's the case, it makes me think, well, will the writers be able to go back and possibly polish it and make it the way that they want to?
Sure.
Because they have
even if they're doing that under contract.
Because I'm going to be pissed if we get some stupid shit and I'm going to be like, you motherfuckers had enough time to fix this shit. What were you doing? Sitting at home playing with your dicks? Come on, work the project.
They may not technically be able to work on it because of contracts and how contracts work with the, but they're going to be thinking about it.
They always have ideas and stuff, though. You're always jotting down things like that.
Yeah.
Aw, it's cool. Love y'all. Aww.
There you go. See, Alfie's cool. Hey, right on. Guys, just have a nickname.
I said Afro from the beginning because it made me think Afro Man in the song because I got high. Love that song.
8.5 a day.
Today, like I can't do anything.
Moments
Not
of a 9.
because I'm high, I just can't.
8.5.
Oh, I can give moments of a 9 too. With it, absolutely.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So we seem to be at about an average of 8.5.
Yeah.
8.5 is about our average for what everybody seems to be thinking, which tells you, I mean, it is worth watching.
I would definitely go back and watch it again.
I was going to say, would you guys recommend it for people then?
Oh, recommend it for people? Yeah, sure. Would I go back and watch it again? Probably not.
Not for a while.
I got what I needed out of it, but it's
maybe eventually, but not for a while type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a perfect call to delay these productions. It basically it comes down to a liability. You don't want some PA or some crafts person that's constructing a set on a movie thing come down with COVID, die, and the family turn around and sue a studio. It would break up to studio.
See, Debbie, that would have been a good way to tie in the whole Ryan Murphy universe, right? We could have made, this whole thing, and then Elsa Mars is like, I'm coming to get you, Marlene, bitch. And then they tie them together.
Anime Wong's, Anime Wong, I consider the character of that possibly the most important character as far as the story of what the story within the story that they're trying to tell, because that really kind of was, her real life story about being cut from this film and being distraught and drawn out of Hollywood. That really was what that movie Meg was about, or Peg was about. So very interesting. Probably changing my 8.25.
8.25. 8.25.
8.25.
This y'all learn. I could take my criticism of the show and still enjoy it.
Yeah, we kind of all feel the same way. The first couple episodes were a bit slow. Once you got into like the third episode, then things started to pick up because they had to set everything up.
Should have ended it long before they did. That was another thing that was ridiculous. Did anybody like the ending? Who liked the way they ended it?
I liked it. I did in the sense, I'm busy. In the sense, no, go away, ask Dad. In the sense that I liked, okay, if you don't know history, like we said, because I went in like that, I liked the story because I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They went to the awards. Oh, they won some awards. This is great. But what I didn't like, even if this had nothing to do with real life history whatsoever, and this was just the story, I did not like that we've seen all of these tragic and horrible things and all these things happen and all these different character arcs and, people redeeming themselves. And then all of a sudden, everybody gets a happy ending. Everybody.
Because in reality, that would not happen.
Well, it's like,
it wouldn't at all, especially in the 40s.
Why did his character, his redemption arc, so important to wrap up this whole story? It was
because, like you said, they wanted to throw the whole gay movement in there.
I know, it's just such pandering. It was about the 5. We had the 5's conclusion at the Oscars. We got where they were going. We got the proposal. We got the winning the awards, and standing up and right, yes. And, rate my rant, you guys. We'll start rating my rant. No, but it's like we got just we got such a. I even cried. I even cheered up when she won the Oscar. It was like it was so fitting. The emotional arc to that was so incredibly moving. And then the train never stopped. It's like talk about throwing away an ending. Come on, enough. It's almost like it was a same little mini post episode afterwards.
I do agree that we didn't need the ending with Jim Parsons. I mean, we honestly didn't need that.
But you know what I was waiting for with everybody? So it was like bam, 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 one right after another. Everybody got their happy ending. And then it's like, okay, now we're getting ready to end it, right? Isn't it almost over? And I checked the time because I'm like, how much more time do we have? And it was like 1:07 or, something like that.
No, we're not covering politician.
No, we're not.
And I was just thinking, like, why is everybody getting a happy ending? What is happening here?
That wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't at all, like you said. And it just, I don't know. I was waiting for suddenly something very tragic to happen because it was like, we're all so happy. We're all so happy. Now the bottom falls out.
That's why I was so thrilled with the end of episode 6. I was like, yes, this is taking a risk.
My mouth dropped wide open at the end of 6.
Taking a risk with writing. I was like, this is incredible.
Yes, Debbie. Yes. I did too. I started to tear up when they showed her winning her award. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, the whole Oscar thing was great.
That was, just like the whole, the way they reimagined everybody that was real, even though, they obviously it was slightly altered from real history. It's the fact that if you notice, even if they didn't get a happy ending, but most of them did. And it's because in real life, they didn't. So they gave them what they never got. And I liked that. That's why I liked this show. Because we're giving people who fought for things and wanted things and had to hide from things and, treated themselves horribly because of the way everybody else treated them. I loved that.
Yeah, and I don't dismiss that, and I just dismiss the thought process behind that, and that is a beautiful sentiment. I think the execution was poor in the sense of how they went about doing it. I think there's many other ways that could have been more respectful doing that, but the sentiment is good. It really is to reimagine what could have been in any type of civil rights movement. Had just one thing askewed is powerful, and I think that message across. I just,
Deb.
You know what I mean? Yeah, the politician was not well received. That's why we're not going to cover it.
We're at 112.
I only got through 4 episodes of The Politician before I gave it up.
I only got through 2, and I had to stop.
I haven't seen an episode because it sounded boring to me.
And I love Ben Platt. Don't get me wrong, love it. But
I wanted to like it because I like the actors. But I mean, I heard what other people said. I read, the premise for the show, and I'm like, I won't be able to get into that. I can't do it.
Yeah.
All right,
everybody.
Oh wait, on to the day. Yes. So, in honor of Hollywood, oddballs and kookballs and everybody else that's in Hollywood, who is our ultimate Harry Potter oddball? That would be Luna Lovegood. Wait, you've shown Luna Lovegood's one before. Yes, I have multiple times. The second one. This is her first one. Her very first wand that she got destroyed in the Department of Mysteries. It's just a straight stick with acorn, very Luna-ish acorn etchings in it. This wand, for as far as collectors go, is really heavily sought after because it only was ever released once, and it was in a big collector set, a couple $100 collector set. As a bonus, it was released in that. So it's a really heavily. It's often bootlegged, this wand, so that people have it in their collection. But that's the only way you can get it is in a big set. So that's Looney Lovegood's first one in honor of.
I love it. We love Luna Lovegood.
All right, I had to highlight this because I'm interested in this question as well.
How does Ryan get all these amazing talents to follow him to hell?
Yeah, he's got a family.
Question that we'd like to know the answer.
I know the answer. He's a very charismatic demon.
Well, Ryan Murphy has created the family. He's become like that studio that's all within the family. and I think people like being involved in situations like that. They like being involved in a culture of
Yeah.
like-minded people, and a
Well,
lot
and
of
it gives you not only the friendship and the feeling of family, but it gives you a sense of security in the sense of, job.
yeah. I don't have a acting job. Let me call Ryan.
Right.
You know.
And if he doesn't have a role for you, he might know someone who does.
Mhm.
Right. Because he has a
And
lot
the
of.
call
Same
from
thing
Ryan
happens with
Murphy is
like
going to go a long way.
Tyler Perry has the same thing. Tyler Perry
Yeah.
has the same type of community.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's see.
Season 3.
Really?
Did they do season 2? I thought there was only the one season and it failed.
I couldn't even.
I think she's saying when they do 3, they're planning to film it then.
Oh, huh.
I can't get it.
What happened with 2?
Yeah, really, because I couldn't even get through the first one.
Yeah, I only got through 4. Well, I was liking it actually. I really was liking it, but it didn't hold my interest enough to go back. I wasn't
Right.
thinking like, oh, I got to finish the politician. It just got away from me, and I just forgot about it.
Right.
So, we need to meet afterwards. So
Yeah.
and then we'll announce some stuff tomorrow, I guess.
Maybe.
All right, anything else?
Maybe.
No, I think we covered it
Well,
all.
Thank you guys for coming to our stream about Hollywood.
Welcome, newcomers.
Thank
Alfie
you guys so
and
much for coming.
Alfie's in the house.
You guys are so
Alfie's in
funny.
the house.
Alfie.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Alan
See
and
you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Be here or
Right here.
be square, you cool cats and kittens.
we'll be right here.
Yep. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye, guys.
And we're out.
No, we're not.